All right, welcome back. Let's stay with the week in Washington, but let's also add the week in Lansing, which has been fascinating. Here to talk about it, Stephen Henderson from Detroit Today on WDET, and the former Majority Leader of the Michigan Senate, Randy Richardville. Let's start with Washington, guys. Randy, you have been an ardent supporter of this president. Has anything changed in the past week when you hear him asking for China's help in investigating Joe Biden?
No, I don't think so. He's a lightning rod of personality, you might say. He likes to bring the argument to his court, and then he fights it, and he usually does pretty well. It's an interesting tactic. I don't know.
Does it pretty well. He's about to be impeached.
He's not about to be impeached. I think they've just been talking.
He's going to be impeached. I don't know that he's going to be removed from office.
Well, of course
Is he going to be impeached?
Well, so what? What does that do for anybody? All that is a waste of time, a waste of taxpayers' dollars. That's all that it is. Be impeached for what, really? I mean, just because the economy's doing so well, and because the joblessness has changed. We're doing a great job. The country's in great shape.
Well, Stephen, to that point, the saying is we have recall elections every 4 years.
We do.
Why bother with this?
Well, I mean, let's start with the Constitution. Let's start with the oath of office that this president took to defend that Constitution. Let's start with campaign finance law, which he's openly violating and was on the phone call and was on television. There are standards that preserve the institutions in our republic and have for the entire time it has existed. This is a president who, I agree with Randy, sometimes is trying to tweak his opposition by flouting those standards and saying, well, they don't matter so much. But here we're talking about very serious matters of state. He is the chief executive of this country. He's the chief diplomat of this country. He's also the head of the Republican Party. And those three things have to be kept separate in the mind of the president. They don't always, you don't always get to do all of those things. He is acting as a partisan in these other roles in a way we have never seen a president do before. That's why they're talking about impeachment. If he were any other public servant, he could be prosecuted for campaign finance violations for this kind of thing.
Jump in.
Bribery and extortion.
I'm going to sit back and let you two go at it here.
I just think we're going a little too far. As a person who is in a leadership role myself, I had people had a recall coming after me more than once. They started websites against me. I think they got 13 members to join that website, and a couple hundred votes or signatures to try and recall me. It's just a waste of time. It was just bothersome more than anything else. And I don't think that it's genuine, that there's genuine seriousness to the degree that you're talking about.
Because why?
Just because it's not that important. We're moving along where everything's going well, and I don't even know that it's true.
So the intelligence community will say that the biggest threat we face right now is interference in our elections by foreign governments. You've had several intelligence officials talk about that in recent months. The president, meanwhile, is on the phone with a foreign leader saying, hey, I need your help in domestic politics in my country. I need you to investigate my chief political rival. I don't know which part of that doesn't, for you, rise to the level of absolute horror and outrage.
It seems to me damned if you do, damned if you don't. Okay, so supposedly we've got Russia involved in elections that nobody was able to say this really happened, and now
no,
he's reaching
everyone
out
says
someplace
Russia was
out.
involved in the election.
Well, not everyone, because I can tell you right now, I don't think so.
Well, the Mueller report concluded that it did, and the intelligence community backed that up by saying, look, there is an effort, a serious
Do you really
effort
think
to
this is an
interfere in
efficient use of taxpayer dollars to be saying we've got these, pardon the pun, these trumped up charges against the president, talking about all these inconsistencies?
How are they trumped up?
Well, look, we got 11 months and you can vote him out of office.
But which part?
So go ahead and vote him out of office.
Which part of the allegations here are not proven by his own words?
The general people in the United States don't care about this stuff. They want to get back to the business of getting this country running the way that it has been for the last couple of years.
The polls show that a majority of Americans want to know what happened here. A majority of Americans believe he was trying to reach out to the Ukraine to interfere in our elections, and they're concerned about that. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. preserving the standards of the institutions of the republic are just as important as what the economy is doing. They're just as important as reforming health care or gun reform.
Sure they are, but what I'm saying is the timing, so you've had 3 years to look at all the things that are happening, and take all the charges that came to this time, right now, just about a year before the election, when things are starting. Hey, by the way, let's start doing this.
Well, he just made this phone call in June.
So these processes you think are so important take 4 months to get to we should even start acting.
We just learned about the phone call, and now we're learning about there were other phone calls. He was on the phone with the leader in China, maybe saying the same thing. At what point do Republicans and listen? I'm somebody who, on the left side of things, has had in many instances, to have to stand up against someone who I like, who I respect, and say, you have done wrong. Kwame Kilpatrick, someone I knew most of my life, I had to, when he clearly crossed the line in terms of his behavior, I had to say, this is not okay, and you cannot continue in the job that you've had because of that. That is what leadership is about. That's what character and morals are about. I am really upset that Republicans on the other side of the aisle cannot do the same thing with somebody who's so.
I just don't think comparing Donald Trump to Kwame Kilpatrick and his behavior.
Oh, I think it's an insult to Kwame Kilpatrick.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I didn't know you could do that.
I've only got about a minute left, but I want to quickly get to what happened this past weekend in Lansing. You know Gretchen Whitmer well. She was your counterpart when she was on the minority side in the Senate. Almost $1 billion in line item vetoes, and some of them on some glaring things that a lot of people are behind, like Pure Michigan, autism, research and funding. What is she up to here?
It's a tactic. It's the way that she goes about things. She and I have negotiated in the past. We negotiated publicly differently than we did privately. I think she's a better private negotiator than she is a public one.
Okay.
But she's saying, okay, you want to cross the street, then you might get hit by a bus. Bang, there we go.
We've seen this before in Lansing, and his name was John Engler. This idea that if you don't do what I need you to do, there's going to be consequences, and they will be personal. If you look at the vetoes she took and how they hit members of the Republican caucus, that's what she's up to. And look, I can't say that's a faulty approach.
I got to go to a break. If you two want to go out to breakfast or brunch together, it's on me.
All right,
this is Flashpoint on Local 4. We come back, we'll talk about the Freedom of Information Act in Michigan.